Hello, guys. Welcome to Rex Arthur TV. This is the Rex Arthur Show, where we discuss LGBTQ issues with an LGBTQ approach and an LGBTQ perspective, and also a humanistic approach in an LGBTQ plus planet. And this is your host, Rex Arthur. And today we are going to start what we call Rex Arthur's, views on the world news. And there is a lot of news happening around the world. Why I'm saying this is because as LGBTQ persons, we do not live in, we don't live like ostriches. You know, an ostrich puts its head in the sand, and when things are happening around it, it doesn't want to deal with them. Uh, there are some LGBTQ persons who like dealing with issues and discussing issues, and I'm one of them. I love discussing issues and analyzing and giving my discussing issues and analyzing and giving my point of view, and it's based on the freedom of expression. These freedoms, which we're going to discuss in another video after this one. So today we're going to go through the news, different news that items that actually talk about what is happening around the world, and a lot of things happening in the world which are very chaotic, if I may say. Right now, the state of the world is chaotic, in the sense, if you have a view of the world, you know, that is what Obama said when he went to South Africa, that the world is entering a time of uncertainty. And of course, I disagreed with it partly, but I understood what he was saying. That the world is really going into a time of uncertainty. But for me, I would say it differently, and I would say that yes, if there's uncertainty, it means we do not know where we're going. I think we should live life knowing where we're going and what we have. Like personally, I have my vision for the whole for life in the world is that we live in a world that is always solving the problems that come by day in harmony, and that's how it is. That's why for me it's not uncertainty as such. It is that the world has always been there. You know, I will talk about this in the theological channel, about that's eschatology. You know, there are some people who, when they see World War III and they see the biometric system and all of these things, they will call it the end of the world. And there are some people who have a different eschatology. Like Muslims, they don't have that eschatology that some Christians have, not all Christians. Muslims believe the Mahdi is going to come, and then there will be peace, and then the whatever Islamic Caliphate, all of this. Every religion has its eschatology. Even Hindus have their eschatology. And I did that video in my theological channel, QSTPS, that is Queering Science, Theology, Philosophy, and Spirituality. But I'm going to do again another video on that same, because it's about time. You know, time is very important. If anything, time is life, and time is God, in my view. So you have to study time. The more you study time and you know the times, the more you can prepare yourself for whatever happens. So Obama, when he said there's uncertainty, what he was trying to say, he doesn't know what's going to happen. Like, you see what's happening. He really didn't want Trump to be in the White House, you see. And so now that Trump is in the White House, it means he's changing everything. And even in one of the news items we're going to discuss and give our views, Trump talked about climate change, which I don't agree on climate change, and I'm going to discuss them there. So what Obama is trying to say is that, you see, a president will come and change the course of history. He can change. One man can change the course of history. One, only one. And so that's what could happen with Trump. And indeed it happened. Trump is the leader, the global leader, even though he doesn't want to be a globalist. He's the global leader of nationalism that is rising all over the world. People are now concerned about their security, and they want to preserve themselves. And we know the result of nationalism. it leads to world war. That's what's going to happen, because people will cocoon themselves as nationals and throw out foreigners, and then they will now be suspicious of each other. That's why even the EU, it should be looked at very carefully, because the nationalism that is fomenting in Europe may lead to the breakup of EU. And if EU breaks up, it means Europe will go back to the World War One, World War Two scenario, where there were nations, they didn't trust each other, they didn't they didn't like each other, they were competing with each other. You see, when there's competition, there's a lot of competition, what happens is there will be war, because competition is war. I mean, all the competitions in the world, World Cup, they are all nationalistic. Germany plays against Brazil. Brazil plays against Netherlands. Netherlands plays against Ghana. Those are nations. They don't, you see, so all of these things are national competitions. Most competitions are national. They are nationalistic. So nationalism in itself is not bad, but it's a very, it leads to, when it's taken to the extreme, it leads to what happened in Nazi Germany. So it's, when you see it, you sound the alarm bells. The safest system for the world is globalism, because in globalism everybody is one citizen of the world. Everybody is a citizen of the world. And for me, I have a globalist vision. I believe in a world whereby I can go to Lithuania with my one passport, global passport, and I go there and I can get a job in Lithuania with no problem. I get a house and I'm in the system with ease. My dream as a globalist is that every country becomes one in the same system. Everything we just do, even though we are different cultures, different cuisines, we won't change the cuisines, we won't change the culture, we won't change the tribes, but what will change is the system. And that you have a uniform system, that the system in Lithuania is the same one that works in Saudi Arabia, is the same one that works in Botswana, is the same one that works in Brazil, is the same one that works in France, like that. So that freedom of movement, easy. Freedom of expression, easy. If you are having problems in Botswana, you'll just go to Lithuania and they won't stop you, because you are a citizen of the world. The whole world is yours. That's what people need to understand. Don't just say that the country I was born in is my place. No, the whole world is yours. That's what freedom of migration is. Freedom of movement is. You can go to any country of the world. Why? Because the country you've lived in, even the country, do you know you can leave the country you were born in? Yeah. You can leave the country you were born in for many reasons. War. How many Syrians have left Syria and have given birth to children in Europe? Many. Because they didn't want to die in Syria. They had a choice. They could have even died in Syria. Yes. So freedom of movement is a very important freedom. And that's why I'm going to discuss in this month, coming month, December, the UDHR. And I want to panel beat UN, They need to revamp UN and really make it a strong global organization that has a vision that is more global, because the Secretary General of UN said that the Secretary General of UN said, Guterres, that the number one problem in the world, did you know what he said it was? Right now, nationalism. And he's very right. That is the number one problem in the world today. It is nationalism. Why? Because when you're nationalistic, you will make nationalistic laws. And nationalistic laws are discriminatory. They are very what do you call it, security minded. Of course security is not bad, but when you find you have so much security laws, it means there's too much insecurity in that place, meaning people don't trust each other, and that is the problem with nationalism. So anyway, we're going to go through the news, and I'm for globalism. I know other people like nationalism, but for me, I prefer globalism. Globalism is multinationalism, multiculturalism. Let everybody live where they want to live. Yes, give them the freedom, make them citizens. You can be a citizen of 3 countries. Why not? Yes, there is freedom. There should be freedom, because now with technology you can have a database that knows everybody. That's why I'm campaigning for globalism personally. And as I've told you, it depends which your eschatology is. Some people who believe in the end time movement believe, no, let the world end right now. Things are so bad. Things are so bad. Everything is hard. Just let World War III now come. And it's actually fomenting, as we're going to look through the news. So the first item I want to look through in the news is the Taiwan referendum on same-sex marriage. And what happened is the LGBTQ community got a loss in Taiwan, but not a full loss, because Taiwan still allows gay sex. So we haven't lost that much. We just lost on the part of gay marriage. And I laughed even when I looked at the news, even though it's very sad news, because if you have allowed gay sex, why are you not allowing gay marriage? You see, it doesn't make sense. The trend should have been, and I know what's going to happen. In 10 years' time, they'll allow gay marriage. Yes, they will. They will. Because how can you allow gay sex, but you don't allow gay marriage? It doesn't make sense. What is marriage? Marriage is sex. Yes, marriage is sex. It's not even having children. It is sex. The legal definition of marriage is if you if you engage in sexual intercourse as two people who have exchanged vows, your marriage is now what is called in law consummated, because you signed an agreement and said that me and you, we are together, we are one item. So you signed an agreement, you said your vows in front of people, and you said, yes, this one is my spouse and this one is my spouse. Then you go for a so-called honeymoon. No sex happens. According to law, that is not a marriage. It has not been consummated, because you've lied. You said you are going to be with each other to love and to hold, blah, blah, blah. You've exchanged your vows, but you have not enforced the vows. So what happens? The marriage is null and void. There was no marriage because there was no sex that happened. So a spouse sometimes can take and can sue the other spouse for not keeping the bargain of the agreement. So now, the problem is very many people have premarital sex. That's why it's even called premarital sex, because sex primarily is supposed to happen after the ceremony, after marriage, the marriage ceremony called a wedding. So people are supposed to have sex at that time, but naturally most people have premarital sex. So when they have premarital sex, in essence they have actually been consummating so many marriages. They have very many marriages. Yes. And it's just that they are not called marriages because there was no formal ceremony of exchanging vows. So you can have sex without exchanging vows, and that's why they're not called marriages. But essentially, marriage must include sex. So when you allow gay sex, but you don't allow gay marriage, what are you saying? You know, you're really, you're confused. But I think this is one reason why they're confused. Many people around the world, when they hear gay marriage, they just think it's gay wedding. You see, they connect wedding to marriage, and it is something in us, as you know, when you're children and someone tells you what's happening. Oh, they're getting married. It's a wedding you're talking about. So it's sometimes the language that has killed people. So they think marriage is a wedding. So when you tell people where someone is promoting or supporting gay marriage, they almost want to shoot you because they think you're calling for a gay wedding. And it's not that it's a gay wedding. Do you know you can exchange vows without even having a wedding? Yes. No wedding ceremony. You just say, I promise to be with you till death do us part. Sign. I promise to be with you till death do us part. Sign. That is a marriage. It is, and it's to be consummated with sex, meaning it's to be sanctified, or that's the religious term. It is to be sealed with sex, that agreement. Because when you said you're going to stay with this person and you've signed an agreement, it has to be enforced. And why do you sign an agreement? So that you can go to court if it's not fulfilled. That's why there's a lot of documentation in Western marriages. Yes, they have to use sign, whether it is civil or in church. You sign, because if you don't sign, that's it. You're not married. And if you sign and then you don't enforce it with sex, the marriage is null and void. You see? So, most people confuse wedding with marriage, and this is what may have happened in Taiwan. Culturally, the visual cultural picture of two people of the same sex marrying is still not in the minds of people. That's why it's important to have LGBTQ literature, movies, music videos, all of these things, to encourage, to let people understand that they are same sex relationships, they are same sex couples. There are people who are there and they can marry. Otherwise, I would advise the LGBT community just do civil partnerships. Like some countries do not give gay marriage, they just give civil partnerships, meaning you can just come and make an agreement and say, I'm married to you, I'm married to you. No need of fanfare. You can have a party somewhere, but you've just signed in the office of the government, the country. They give the registry, civil registry. You go there and you sign, and you're done. You're married, but you didn't have a wedding. You know, weddings are more religious. There's a lot of fanfare. So you can imagine going to an altar. People just wonder, what is this happening? You know, and it's just a marriage. It's just an agreement. There are two people of the same sex who love each other. So that understanding is still not in very many people. So that's why Taiwan went that way. However, the understanding that is in people, which we are happy about, is sex. People understand that homosexuality happens. And therefore, it happens even whether you like it or not, whether you know it or not. So it's already happening. So because of that, why should you be disturbed about doing in the bedroom? It doesn't make sense. So what do? Decriminalize it. Yeah, let those people not be disturbed. Because imagine, most straight people don't know. They don't know that LGBT people are very kind. Yes, they are. Imagine if if the world started as an LGBTQ world, and then the people they attack are heterosexuals. Just think if heterosexuals were banned, heterosexual marriage banned, heterosexual sex banned, how you'd feel. You see, it's all about feelings. It's not about what someone is doing that is not like you. You know, it's about feelings. Homosexual feelings are homosexual feelings. When somebody loves somebody of the same sex, they love them. Let them be together. You know, love. Do you know what love is? Love. Love is undescribable. See, that's why people even die in the LGBT community fighting for the rights They know what love is. Yeah, people think that these guys, all you guys just think of sex. Even by the sex is part of love. Yes, it's love. So, love is a very deep feeling. And if you attack somebody because of whom they love, you have killed them. Yes, you have. You've killed them because you have um, you have denied them the freedom of expression. Love is also based on the freedom of expression. Love is also based on the freedom of association, because association means I can agree with this person. I can talk to this person. That is association. The moment you add one person, if I bring another person here, that is an association. And that's freedom of association. And nobody's supposed to attack it because you can associate with anybody. That's why any country that has criminalized homosexual relationships or same-sex relationships is a country on the wrong track, because they are being killed by their own constitution. They are just committing suicide because the constitution has already allowed it on the basis of freedom of association. Yes. Did the government come and choose you who is to be your friend on Facebook? That they, oh, this one don't put that one to be your friend because we don't like him. No. You are the one who went to look for friends on Facebook. You liked their pictures, you liked what they told you. So they became your friends. That's freedom of association. Nobody forced you and told you only have friends like this. If you have friends this way, then we will arrest you. That is wrong. You can go and sue the government for that. Freedom of association is your right. You are born with it. Yes, they are inalienable. They cannot be separated from a human being. There are other rights that can be separated from a human being, but not freedom of association and not freedom of expression. Because love, it comes from inside. Nobody teaches you. These things I hear recruiting. There is no recruiting. How are you recruited to love somebody? It's it's madness. It can't happen. Love comes from inside. Love comes from inside. So when you see someone and you say love at first sight, why do we say people think LGBT people don't have love at first sight? They do. We do. We do have love at first sight. And more than even straight people. That's why there's a lot of polyamory in the LGBT community, not in the straight one. Yes. Do you know why there's polyamory in the gay community than in the straight one? It's because there's no gay marriage. And they are having sex. So because there's no gay marriage, there's no duty to be committed to one person. So you're going to have sex with very many people. That's why HIV spread in the gay community in the 80s in America. There was no gay marriage in America at that time. Very Christian country at that time, though at least there was some secular movements with the hippie movement and the disco time. So at least those guys saved America. Because imagine in the 1700 America, you could not even attempt to say, let a man marry a man. They will kill you. Because it was thoroughly Christian. They had already wiped out the Native Americans. Now they were a Christian nation. That was how hard America was in 1700s. Not an easy place to live in for somebody who likes drinking, having fun, having sex with the same sex person. But now things have changed thanks to time. And because of that, that's why, like now, you see, even in America, the gay marriage has been passed. It's not at even 10 years. You have to give them 10 years first to measure how beneficial has been gay marriage. Of course, it is beneficial to gay people. But what I mean is, what are the milestones they will make after 10 years? How many people will really get married? It will take time for gay people to get down and settle. That's why I did another video called Mainstreaming the LGBT community. What I meant by that was the LGBT community, every country where they have allowed gay marriage, Give them time to mainstream. Like in Europe, it's already happening. You're having prime ministers who are gay, prime ministers who are lesbians, transgenders who are mayors. That is called mainstreaming. They are now coming into the mainstream life. People are getting to know who is a transgender when he works. Because a transgender is not a heterosexual, and a heterosexual is not a homosexual, and a homosexual is not a bisexual. They have different moods, they have different psychology, different ways of doing things. That's what happens. You see? So, like, even in England, Queen Anne was a lesbian. Do you know how many things she did? You see, that's how lesbians are. The other queens, like Victoria, she was a very she was heterosexual. Even the movie that's coming out, I don't know if it has come out yet, where she was with the Arab lover. After she lost her husband, she was so, and in fact, Victoria's name is the funniest because to the point of even circumcising the ladies so that they don't masturbate too much. But for her, she was busy having fun with Abdul. And it was a very funny reign. She was a Christian queen. But Queen Anne, who ruled in England, very quietly, she was a lesbian. And you don't even hear about her works and why. Reason being, she was busy with her ladies. So yes, so lesbian queens are not straight women. Queens are not straight queens, and straight queens are not gay kings, and gay kings are not bisexual kings and queens, and bisexual kings and queens are not transgender kings and queens, and intersexual kings and queens are not queer kings and queens, and asexual kings and queens are not pansexual kings and queens. So that's the life. That's the diversity. So what I'm trying to say is, do not interfere in somebody's love relationship as long as you don't have the feelings. Rather, let them love each other. So decriminalize. That's me. I'm supporter of a decriminalization on the basis that when you decriminalize it, if somebody attacks a gay couple or anybody for being gay, they will be arrested. That's the importance of decriminalization. But if you criminalize gay sex, if you find somebody is gay and you attack him, that person can't run to the police, because if he runs to the police, he is a criminal according to the laws of that country. Because the person who attacked him will tell him, this is a homosexual and the country does not allow homosexuality, and I found him. So, what's going to happen? You'll be arrested. And why should you be arrested for loving somebody? Did you love the person who saw you? No, you are with your friend. So what do? Decriminalize. And if you have a problem, if you see a if you go to court, remember you're going to lose money. So it's a very dicey thing, especially in religious countries. By the way, look at I remember we did roll call for the countries that have decriminalized gay sex and don't have gay marriage. Do you notice one thing? Majority of them are religious countries. The homophobic countries are religious. Look at Saudi Arabia, all of the Arabic countries, thoroughly religious. Come to Africa, religious. So what does that mean? It's religion that is holding back the LGBT community in those countries. But guess what? LGBTQ persons are also religious. So what do? See? Because no one can tell me that because Saudi Arabia is religious, there are no gay people. They are there. We know it. We see the porn. You see Arabs, they are busy. They are gay. It's just that because they are religious, they put their religion first rather than their sexuality. So what does that mean? They value their religion more than their sexuality. And in the Western culture, they value their identity, which includes sexuality, rather than their creed. Reason being, in Western culture, creed is not natural, it is artificial. Do you know, like, I can start a new religion today. There are so many religions I can create right now, but I cannot create a bisexual. I can't. I cannot create a transgender. Even if you do IVF, you can't. They are naturally bisexual, naturally transgender, naturally gay, naturally heterosexual. You can't create them, but you can create religions. So in the Western system, they focus on natural identity. You see your identity card. Even why are they including biometrics now? It's because biometrics is who you are. It's natural. That's why. That's the Western system. They know whom to deal with. Because today you can be a Christian, tomorrow you become Hindu, tomorrow then another day you're a Muslim, then the other day you become atheist. Yes, and nobody can stop you. Actually, creed lifestyle, creed identity, or belief identity, or philosophical identity, they are transient. They are not stable. They change they are very fickle, like wind moving everywhere. But natural identity is very hard to change. Yes, it's very hard to change because it is who you are. You are born like that. You are born homosexual. You are born bisexual. You are born transgender. Yes, that's true. So that's why I'm saying the most homophobic countries, it's just because they value religion more than science. So that's why they are not, they find it very hard to legalize gay marriage, legalize decriminal. Because an atheist country, or a country that has people who have read science, you can be scientific and religious. Yes, like South Africa. South Africa, do you know why they allowed gay marriage? They are a religious country. The African independent churches, many of them are in South Africa. Why did they allow it? Because apart from being religious, they're also scientific. And then, secondly, the culture, the gay culture is there. It is there. It is in them. So they could not use religion. Even that's why African independent churches started. They were fighting Western theology that did not allow polygamy. And polygamy was a natural African habit. So they were, and then to make it worse, these Africans read the Bible and they saw King Solomon had more than one wife, David more than one wife, Abraham more than one wife. And they were wondering, how are you telling us that we should only be with one? And all of these people in the Bible that you're reading from that book, it's now telling us they had many wives. You see? So what happened? They left the Western churches and they formed African independent churches. Reason? They had a culture that they wanted to keep, and they found it in the religion. That's what happens. So in Africa and the Arab world, the only thing that you can help is religion needs to merge with science, so that the scientists, the religious people, don't feel like they are being attacked. And that's what I always tell pastors and imams and all. No one is attacking your religion. We are just saying that in your religion you have people like this. Please keep them and don't attack them. That's all we are saying. Yes, they are there. Just keep them. Don't attack them. When they want to decriminalize, let them decriminalize. Are you gay that you're worried and saying no, don't decriminalize because it will increase sin? Read the science first. That's what I now do with churches, mosques, temples, any religious person. I tell them, go to the science. I don't go to, you've read the Bible very well. You know it very well. What you don't know is science. Because when they'll have science, as I told you, South Africa has allowed, America has allowed, even though there is war. Do you know why there is transgenders are killed in America? It's because they still there are people who value religion more than science. So it's an educational problem. They should teach people to value facts first, faith after. Your faith should follow facts, not your facts, because there is no fact that follows faith. No fact in the world needs faith. A fact is a fact. Does it need faith? So that's what you need to understand. Okay, I can talk about Taiwan forever. So basically, that was the Taiwan referendum, and it went that way, a loss, but I'm not shocked. And then secondly, I also want to say referendums. How can a zebra go and vote for to put a lion in office? It's weird. It's very weird. And that's what I'm saying about I'm tired of these referendums. Because like even what's happening in UK, come to think of it, the Brexit referendum that had passed. Some people want it to happen again. And my question is, I've been thinking when I was thinking about the Taiwan referendum, I was also thinking about Brexit, and I said, it was a very, I think it's wrong. Referendum should not be for everybody. They should be like the gay marriage referendum in Taiwan. It was hogwash as long as they are straight people who are married. What are you telling a straight person to come and vote for a marriage that can compete with their marriage? And they are going to say yes? You are dreaming. If America had done referendum, there are some states which would have not allowed gay marriage. Yes, it's because the understanding is some people attack gay marriage based on ignorance, not knowledge. That's why the best place to deal with gay marriage and gay sex is the courts. They are the most sober. It's the temple. I call courts the temple of truth. If you want to know the truth about something, go to court. Don't go anywhere else. Don't even go to church, because church truth can be twisted. One person says Jesus is the only God, he's not in the Trinity. Another one says Jesus is part of the Trinity. Another one says Jesus is a woman. Another one says Jesus is a man. Another one says, so who is right? There's no truth. Truth is in the courtroom. Truth is in the courtroom. So why do you go to the courtroom? Judges are supposed to be non-biased. They are neutral. They only deal with facts. And science is a fact. Science is a fact-based study. So if you give a judge science only on the issue of gay sex, a sober judge will decriminalize. Yes. Whether it is in Saudi Arabia, whether it is in Brazil, whether it is in Germany, a sober judge will decriminalize gay sex. Why? The science is there. It happens. Yeah. And then secondly, sex is protected by the right of privacy. So who is this person who wants to know what type of sex that person is having? That person will be arrested because he's invading the privacy of another person. That's it. Governments need to know whether you're in a religious country or a secular country. The government machinery is secular because they make judgments out of facts, not fiction. You see, America is a very interesting country. It started out as a theocracy. And the things that happened when it was a theocracy are sad. You remember the witch trials of Salem? The saddest trials in the world. That was a sign how theocracy can be bad. Because in a theocracy, The judges are Christian. So a crime is equals to sin. And sin, you can't prove sin. All you need to say, so and so sinned. I saw them doing witchcraft. They were dancing at night. And that was called witchcraft. And then you are killed. Can you imagine? Because the judge is already biased. He doesn't want to hear witchcraft. So when he has heard that someone has danced at night, he says that person is a witch, executed. That's what happened in Salem. Then 50 years later, the same Salem came to say sorry to all the people that died because they realized there was no evidence that they were witches. You see, that's the problem of having theocratic systems. They don't look for fact. They are already prejudiced. You know, religion is a prejudice. You already know who God is. You don't. Nobody needs to tell you that God is this. You already know. You've been told God is this. It's a prejudicial statement, and it's very hard to fight. You see, the reason why racism is still a hard thing to fight is because it's also planted in religion. Some people believe blacks came from the are Hamites, so they were cast, and that is prejudicial. There is no proof, even in that verse of Ham, even though it talks of tribes that are in Egypt. Not everybody is from Egypt. You see, so you cannot now claim that uh, the whole black world is cast because they all came from Ham. Those are the theologies out there, and the problem of them, they are very prejudicial. You don't need to go to court to prove, was Ham really black? You know, was he really cast? Did it really happen? That's what's supposed to happen. Every Bible story, Quran story, Bhagavad Gita story should be taken to court to verify whether it happened. And if there is nobody who can verify, the court should say this didn't happen. We don't have any witnesses, so nobody can claim that this is truth. That's what it is. So anyway, I don't want to go into so much. I can talk about religion forever. So basically, country systems must be based on facts. That's science, and that's why I support secular countries, secular systems. A secular system allows all religions to flourish. But when it comes to court, the judiciary should be a very non-biased judiciary, even if the judges have religions. That's not to say that we should only hire. I know sometimes atheists, I used to say maybe we should just hire atheist judges. No, it's understandable you can have a Christian judge, but a Christian judge is a judge who first pays homage to facts, not to his religion. A Hindu judge is a judge who pays homage to facts and not religion on making a decision. That's why the gay sex issues cases are a bit problematic, because sometimes you go before judges that put religion first. So when they are reading through the facts, they're saying, oh my God, and the way Sodom burnt down. What if I do this and now Sodom is going to... Oh, and he's using Sodom instead of what the doctors have said, that gay people exist. They even make diseases. They get diseases, venereal diseases. I like that. I'm going to do a video about venereal, Venus, diseases from Venus, because Venus is the goddess of love. Now, if gays get venereal diseases, what does that mean? Gays have love. So we're going to do that video when we get time. So anyway, that's my view. I think referendums should be kept to stakeholders. Now look at what happened in Britain. The war in Britain now is that the ones who want a second referendum are economically minded people. They know the economic cost of leaving EU is devastating. But the people who chose Brexit and don't want a second referendum left for political reasons. They didn't want Brussels to control UK. UK right now. So it's either you're for economics or you're for politics. That is what's happening in UK. So I was thinking to myself, then it means the companies in UK majority wanted to remain because they knew. But problem, not everybody is an economist. Not everybody is a businessman. And most of them understand politics easily. And they saw that Brussels will control UK because the laws will be made in Brussels and they'll just be transplanted in UK, and they don't want that. And most of these people who think like that, you find they don't even have companies, so they don't. There's nothing to lose. I was seeing something on Twitter. This Femi, if he's called Femi, he's a very vocal Nigerian Briton who was interviewed about Brexit, and I laughed. Of course, he covered the faces of the interviewees, which was good, so that they don't be put off. I mean, they don't be attacked for their views. And so he was telling them the economic advantage of staying in the EU. And these guys were like, no, we don't see any loss. Let's just leave and we go on. Why did they say that? They don't have companies, so they don't feel the pain. All they want is, let me get my salary, let me get my job, let me get my food, and let me sleep. That's all in their head. No offense. When you're a company, a CEO's mind is not the mind of the employee. Because there's something the CEO knows that the employee doesn't know. So if you make the CEO and the employee go for the Brexit vote, like what happened? Do you know why Brexit went for the employee? There are more employees, there are CEOs in UK. That's why it went that way. It's just what happened. The majority are working class people who don't have companies. Believe you me, if half of the people in UK had companies, none of them would have said Brexit. They would have stayed because they know economic costs. Because companies are there for their number one thought is profit. It's not even what is happening in politics. Profit. So that's what happened. So I was thinking to myself, then maybe the referendum should have just been left for economists. And who knows, now Dambiza Moyo, I might resurrect her from the grave. Yes, because she said democracy is dead, and what we need is a system whereby people who are educated on the matters should be voting. I know it's more like the electoral college in America, so there's really no difference. But I understood what she was trying to say. That because her understanding was you can have a large population of people that don't know the issues, and they go and vote, and they change the course of the country to the worse. I mean, not to the better. So, in her book on democracy, Age of Chaos, which for me we have already gone into the chaos. We're in chaos now, so we are now trying to come out of chaos. That's where we are. She wrote Age of Chaos, but for me, I'll write a book in chaos. We are in how to get out of it now, and that's where we are. So we are in chaos because we do not know what to do to everybody. We have to understand voter knowledge is diverse. Yes, voter knowledge is diverse. So we have a lot of work to do in this world. So hang in there. If you like working, you're gonna enjoy yourself. Okay, so let's almost 1 hour. My goodness. Okay, let's go to climate change. I will really try and make this short. These are just views, so they're just supposed to take 10 minutes. But I am very talkative sometimes. Now, climate change. The news came from the National Climate Assessment body in America. It's a government body, and they told America that $100 million, over 100 millions of dollars will be wasted, will be lost because of climate change. And what was Trump's response? It's so cold, and they're still calling it global warming. And I laughed and I said, Trump just makes my day with his tweets. It's just sad. And I said, does Trump really understand what's happening? And I can understand what he's saying, but it's so wrong. It's not right. Do you know why there's a lot of cold now in the West, and the winter is going to be cold, and it's getting colder and colder as the years go by? It's because of global warming. You see, people need to understand what global warming is. What is global warming? Even by the word itself, it is the earth heating up. Now, why is the earth heating up? Because of the sun. And what is this sun? What has happened? There is carbon dioxide that has been coming out from the industries and very many factories we have that have destroyed the ozone layer. Naturally, the atmospheric gases and atmospheric layers that cover the earth. But because of these gases from these factories, they have been slowly damaging the layers. Have you seen a roof? Have you cooked with charcoal stoves in a house, in a house that has a very small, is not that high enough? The smoke, when you keep on cooking and cooking and cooking, the smoke turns the roof that could have been white into black soot. Soot. A sooty roof, ceiling, sorry. Why? Because you have always been cooking and cooking and cooking. And you see, fire is full of gases. The smoke is, are you seeing this white smoke? Why is smoke cannot create white soot? Have you asked yourself that question? White smoke does not create white soot, it creates black soot. Why? Because up the ceiling, there are gases already, and they are going to meet with this smoke, which interact, and then they land there and form soot, which is black. So it's ironic that white smoke creates black soot. So you see, white became a black ceiling because of the smoke activity. So this is what happens with the factories. They are always, have you seen factories? They're always releasing smoke. And look at China. China is industrialized, is the most industrialized country now, highly industrialized. The speed at which they have industrialized is unbelievable. But when you go to China, there's too much smoke because of that industrialization. It's like a house. As I've explained to you, the ceiling changes because of those activities. In a room where you're not cooking with a stove, the ceiling will remain white. It is simple science and wisdom. You don't have a stove in your room, so they'll never, your ceiling will never have soot. But if you cook a stove and you're always cooking where you have a white ceiling, and it's a bit, it's low, then you'll get a black ceiling in some time. And that's what has happened to the world. The gases from the factories went and destroyed the layer, the ozone layer. Now, what's the importance of the ozone layer? The ozone layer protects the earth from the strong and dangerous UV rays that come from the sun. Remember, the sun is not near us, it's very far, millions of miles away. If it was close to us, we'd have burnt by now. So, being millions of miles away, can you imagine its rays are still dangerous to us. People get skin cancer just because of the sun. So now what has happened is when the ozone layer is destroyed, the strength of the sun's heat is strong. So what does that mean? The waters will hit faster. Like that's why there are more hurricanes. More hurricanes have happened in the 21st century than in the 19th century. Why? We are industrializing more than ever. So that's why hurricanes every year, and they are devastating hurricanes. You see how many hurricanes America has had in the past 18 years? Then Obama had his hurricanes. Then Trump has not even lasted 5 years. He has his hurricanes already. That is climate change. And I can bet you, I don't even need to be a prophet. The other president, whoever, they will also have hurricanes. Even next year, I can predict there will be more because the ozone layer is destroyed. So, sun, the strength of the sun, it's heating the waters. And when there's warm water, look at, just think of the seas and the oceans like your pan in the chicken, in the kitchen, sorry, the pot. When you put low fire, there's no rising of steam, but when you put the fire on high, it boils very fast. That's what's happening now. That's what's global warming can be done in your kitchen. Just go put water on fire and then see, and then increase the temperature. Yeah, then you'll see. The water will boil fast, but if you decrease the temperature, it won't boil that fast. So that's what has happened. The ozone layer has been destroyed, so the boiling of the waters of the world is very fast, and when it boils very fast, the pressure, the winds, because the winds meet with this steam that comes from the seas and the oceans, and then that is what makes it churns the waves. It's beautiful science. And I said I was to do a proper video about climate science. I'm yet to do it properly, but that's the easiest science I can give you. And that's why hurricanes are there, because the water is very hot, so it rises. And when it rises, and then as the water is heating, not only does the sun heat water, it heats air. The wind becomes hot. Hot winds. And when hot winds meet cold winds, then the water is now hot. Oh my, you will have powerful waves and hurricanes, because the water is now enough, is playing around with the heat, and the wind is also strong. Actually, a hurricane is a combination of water energy and wind energy, and all of them have been heated. So there is war in the between cold and hot. It's beautiful, and that's now why you have hurricanes. So, and then now, like what has happened already to America, like now Trump's tweet, he said, oh, it's cold, so there's no global warming. No, America is in winter. What does winter mean? The sun is not prominent in that place. That's what winter means. So because of that, you will not have fires now. What you're going to have is very cold weather, because the ozone layer has been destroyed. So if you've gone out of the atmosphere of the world, sorry, none of us has done that, but scientists say it is very cold outside Earth, the atmosphere, very cold. Now that's what has happened now to America, because the ozone layer is destroyed. That cold is now landing, so the cold gases are now joining and making the water very cold, very cold. And this is why there is a bitter winter in the West right now, because of global warming. told you, when it's in the next year summer, you will hear many countries have been banned. Do you know Portugal lost forests this year? It didn't happen. 1992. Never happened. Why? Because time is progressive, and so is climate change, and so is industrialization. And to end this point of of climate change, I was asking to myself, we should count how many years the world has had factories. Which was the first factory to be set up in the world? We need to know when it was set up. The first factory that emitted carbon dioxide emissions. I bet it was around 17 something, because that's the time they started the Industrial Revolution. So the Industrial Revolution basically began 300 years ago. So what am I trying to say? That this climate change is a result of 300 years effort of man. Remember, when the Industrial Revolution started, do you know how many countries had factories? Less than 10. Britain was a leader, Germany, even less than 7. Very few countries. There was even no factory in America yet. Now, that was in the 17th century. Is it 17th? Yes, we could say 17th century. 16th, 18th century. Yes, 18th century actually, to be precise. Then, 19th century, it hit 10 countries now had factories. Now America started building factories. So not only did the West have, even Europe now started building factories. Then Russia started industrializing. Then come into the 20th century, 1900s. What happened? These European powers came to colonize the third world. They never had factories. Africa had no factory. There was no factory in Africa in 1900. No factory that is emitting smoke. Of course, we had kilns and the blacksmith, but that is very little. It's inconsequential. The smoke just ends here. We're talking about, have you seen a factory when it's on overdrive? The smoke is going on for hours. In Africa, they just did blacksmith. That's all we were doing. So the colonialists came in the 19th century. Factories in Africa, but they didn't build very many because Africa was the source of materials for the factories that were in Europe. So all they used to do is they come and pick the materials from Africa and just take them to back there to keep their factories. Actually, in any case, maybe they saved us. They saved the world a bit. They delayed the world from destruction, because it would have been gone if they came and said we're also going to build factories in Africa. I mean, Congo will be full of factories. So anyway, they came and took raw materials, but nonetheless, there were some countries in Africa that have factories. So what does this mean? The number of factories increased in the 19th century. And then they also went to China that didn't have a factory that removes that smoke. You know, there's factory smoke that even creates acid rain. Yes, it's there. It happens in Europe. It doesn't happen in Africa. It's rare because there are few factories, like da. Few factories, less acid rain. More factories, more acid rain. So China, when China was not colonized, they tried to colonize China, but it didn't work. But what China did, they borrowed the knowledge from the West. Because Japan was colonized, kind of, not really colonized, something like that. They had a lot of Western interactions, and so they also became a powerhouse in industry, and same to South Korea, which was called Korea. Then China was a very poor country. In the 60s, there are some African countries that were even better to live in than China because it was not colonized. And the only part that was colonized was Hong Kong. So when they borrowed the knowledge, the Western knowledge, to build factories, because it was not Chinese. Um, China went to overdrive. They even became worse than the West. And every place there's a factory. Every place in China. Go to China now. They have factories everywhere. Every city has so many factories. They are making toys, making what? So all of that was a smoke going up. Now you go to China, it is the most polluted country in the world. Air pollution, people are walking like this. You are here enjoying fresh air. Well, it's still not fresh because the carbon is coming from the cars. But in China, the cars, the factories, the air is even already gone. It's saturated with industrialization. All in the name of making money. So it's a very interesting world we live in. So what has happened in the 19th century? By the beginning of the 21st century, what has happened? The 200 countries of the world have factories. In the 19th century, less than 30 countries had factories. In the 20th century, 150 countries or 170 countries had factories. In the 21st century, which we have begun now, all 200 have factories. So what does that mean? The gases are increasing from factories. That's why in my other first video, climate change, I said Africa is in between a rock and a hard place, because is it going to industrialize? Because if Africa tries to industrialize like Europe, that's it. We are going to accelerate climate change. Yes. Of course, they're now trying to use different energy, solar energy, wind. They are good energies, but the problem of those energies, you see, energy, diversity of energy, thankfully, there are some energies which are stronger than others. And that fossil, I'm sorry to say, it is the best. Yes, because cars are run, they are oil, they need oil. So you'd rather use fossil energy to create all of these, to lubricate the car machines, than to use solar. And then, um, also, like, okay, even solar energy compared to, again, fossil energy. Solar energy is only strong for 12 hours in a day. Fossil is there 24/7. So which one would you pick as a company? You'll pick fossil. So that's the war we're having with energy diversification. So even if you use solar energy, it's not that strong. It will not get you what you want. But at least you can industrialize in a safe way. So that's why Obama introduced clean energy when he was president, and it he put it out that let's have clean energy rather than coal. But now when Trump has come in, he has brought coal back. So what does that mean? Carbon is coming flying back, going to the atmosphere. And I can understand Trump. Trump is a businessman, and he wants fast. He wants products to be made very fast. Yes, that's what he's doing. But it is what he has been warned, and this is where we're ending this segment of climate change. He has been warned that it's going to cost America. So the money he's thinking he's going to make in using coal burning and all of these things is going to not, because climate change is going to increase, and America is going to lose more. Do you know how America is going to lose? The hurricanes will increase, the fires will increase. Look at what happened to California. It's climate change. So, and California is the 8th largest economy in the world. So just imagine all of that wealth just gone like that. It's sad. So it's very costly. So he really has to sit down. In fact, he should not brush out what that climate assessment has done, has given that body. They should sit down and talk to the climate scientists. He should really go the whole hog. It's a serious issue. Yes, because it makes no point that you're going to use coal and you're still using oil, fossil oils, then you're destroying the ozone layer, then you're losing more money. Like the winter storm that's happening. What could happen if, I think there was a time there was even a very strong blizzard that destroyed electric poles and everything one winter. What if it comes back again? Flooding. Flooding also happens during winter, a lot of it. So what's going to happen? So these are the things Trump should look at and really say enough is enough. We need to work on climate change and that global warming is real. So I think he needs to change his scientists. His scientists are are off the track. Okay, let's go to another news item. Russia versus Ukraine. Very dangerous thing happening there. Martial law has been declared already in Ukraine, and it's very sad that Ukraine is still not in peace. When martial law is declared, just know things are bad. And Russia is now thinking, imagine it has Crimea. Everyone thought, okay, Russia has Crimea, so they shouldn't have got it, but it's okay, they've got it. So people are sleeping and saying, okay, now Russia, now they're still thinking of Ukraine again. It's so interesting. That's power, territorial sovereignty. This is because of nationalism. Nationalism values sovereignty, the doctrine of sovereignty. It values it a lot. That's why globalism is, people don't like it because it basically means there'll be one entity that rules over the world. Like if the world was a globalist um, entity, United Nations would be the government of the world. Yes, it will. UN will be the government of the world. Then all the governments in the world, they answer to the New York, the General Assembly, and legislations. All laws for all countries should have been made in UN. That's how. If I, even I'm going when I'm going to do the UDHR video, I'll give my also my restructuring of UN. Mine. I know everybody can have. We are 7 billion people in the world, so you can have 7 billion models of UN. Yes. So I'm gonna give one of those 7 billion. So I would structure it in such a way all laws for all countries will be made in UN. That's how it is. That's how I would do it. It's cheaper. I mean, it's more like EU. EU is no different to UN. They're the same. They're the same. It's a regional bloc, and laws are made in one place for many countries. That's what EU is. It's just like UN. It's a regional bloc. Now, countries that value sovereignty, like Britain, it values sovereignty owing to the Brexit vote that happened and led to Brexit. Countries that value sovereignty, they don't like regional blocs and they leave because they know that when you're in a regional bloc, you have to surrender your sovereignty. It's like surrendering your independence, and now you are letting somebody else control you. Imagine you have your own house, and then somebody comes and says, you know what, I want to be the landlord of this house. So instead of you paying, I mean, instead of you paying rent to somebody else, you'll be paying it to me. I'm just putting it's not, it doesn't come out very well, but basically, or somebody, you have rules in your house, then somebody says that because I'm very rich, I have better rules for to govern your house. So he comes and gives you those rules. As time goes on, you find those rules don't suit what you like doing. Like maybe you're a night owl, and these guys' rules are only broad daylight rules, and there's no activity to be done after 10 p.m. You look at this guy and say, excuse me, I'm nocturnal. I think these rules won't work for me. And then he insists, he says, no, that is what we want. Majority has said 10 p.m. lights out. So what happens? This person says, okay, that's what's going to happen. Then let me leave this system. And they leave that system and they follow their own rules. That's what has happened in EU. Now, the reason why UN hasn't doesn't have countries leaving the UN, the laws, they just have principles, guiding principles, and then they give you sovereignty. You can do whatever you want. It's like a hotel. So UN is like a hotel. In a hotel, you're given your keys, do whatever you want to do in your bedroom, but there are certain principles in the hotel that you keep. That's how UN is run, and but not fully, because in hotel rooms anything can happen. Yes, anything can happen in the hotel room. So that's what happens in the world. Many countries doing weird things. Look at Pakistan, not Pakistan. I mean, in America, this lady who was they wanted to ban female circumcision, and the American court said no, you can't ban female circumcision because it is based on the First Amendment right. So you can't ban it because people have a right to exercise their cultural beliefs. You see, that is, there's what you call cultural sovereignty. Oh, there are too many things to talk about. So anyway, that is what has happened in Russia, and we don't know whether there's going to be war there. All right, to end, we have sad news from Uganda. There's a boat that capsized and over 30 people died, and I think 60 are missing. That's very sad. We feel very hurt because we know Uganda is a very lovely country, despite the homophobia that is there, and also transphobia, but mainly homophobia because of the state-sponsored homophobia. But that's not our focus. Our focus is we send our condolences to all the families who lost loved ones in the capsizing of that boat. Life is like that, I was telling people on Facebook, life is filled with unexpected events. Anything can happen to anyone at any time, and that is what has happened. Yeah, it's sad, but what can we do but other than to send our deep condolences to the families. It was too shocking that it happened that way, but as I've said, things happen. They expect the unexpected. That's life. Yep. All right, guys, thank you so much. The new sessions we'll be having here on Rex Arthur TV, Rex Arthur Show. So enjoy the rest of your day, as we're going to do another video on freedoms. We want to go through the constitution of the world, and we want to understand freedoms and to show people that LGBTQ rights are found in all constitutions of the world. Yes, they're hidden in the Bill of Rights. And as a leader, as a lawyer, as a legal mind, as a philosopher, you need to dig those freedoms. You need to dig and understand that your rights as a person, as an LGBTQ person, are enshrined in the Constitution completely. Even if that country criminalizes homosexuality, you have your rights, and we're going to show you how as we go through the freedoms.